Hello, my name is Dr. Blair Washington, and I'm a senior physician editor and one of the physician annotators working to validate MCG's AI agent. Today, I'm speaking with MCG's Director of Data Science, Zack Kimble. Zack, thank you for taking time to speak with us today so that we can talk about how our agent can accurately reason over our clinical care guidelines. To start us off, how does MCG address algorithmic bias? What are we doing to minimize the risks associated with using flawed or biased data as we create our agent?
Sure. Thanks, Blair. So we first off just try to get a wide selection of data. So we pull data both from the provider side and the payer side and from a lot of different locations. We also test to make sure that our performance metrics don't vary significantly between various protected classes. So we're trying to make sure that we are getting accurate answers for patients, no matter who they are.
Thanks, Zack. Can you describe MCG's process for validating our agent?
Yeah, so we have several different stages. So one thing we do is have annotations done, which is where we have clinician experts inside the company label all the data that we have with the correct answers that the agent's supposed to be coming back with. So that allows us to iterate and make improvements to the agent and quickly check its answers against the sort of a ground truth. From there, we also have qualitative evaluations by various stakeholders within the company. So we take the agent, put it into an application, and make sure that the answers it's providing are not only accurate, but are actually useful and helpful in the context of our end users.
Excellent. It's been helpful to talk to, I think, all of the folks along the way that are participating in the process. So, yeah. How are transparency and interpretability built into the AI agent? How will the agent's determination of met or not met be verifiable to users?
We mainly focus on making transparency available by showing what the agent's relying on from source text. So rather than have the agent generate its own explanation, which may or may not be correct, at the end of the day, the agent has to explain everything it does by simply providing exact quotes from the text. So then the user can very quickly see what evidence is being used for the reasoning, and also quickly track back to the location to verify themselves.
How do we evaluate the accuracy and reliability of our AI agent?
So there's a couple different steps to that. So the first thing you need is an accurate ground truth, and that can actually take a lot of work. So we have an annotation process that uses a pretty large team within the company of expert clinicians, including our editors, who go through and annotate what the correct choice is for a given real world case. From there, we do have to do annotation reviews. So we basically have to work to try to bring consensus to make sure everybody's agreeing on cases, because there is, of course, a lot of gray zones, and documentation isn't always perfect. So that gives us a high quality ground truth. From there, we're comparing the agent's choices to that ground truth. We generate a number of different metrics, both for the agent overall, but also for individual guidelines, for individual indications. And depending on the type of indication, how frequently it occurs, those may vary. But generally speaking, we're looking at how often is the agent choosing something that's not actually met and saying it's met, and how often is it saying something's not met or not finding evidence for met, even though there is actual evidence. And so we create different metrics to reflect its ability to do both those tasks correctly.
Mm-hmm. And a final question. How will the AI agent's performance be monitored over time to ensure that it evolves as our evidence and literature evolve and our guidelines change?
So there's two components there. One of them is keeping up with the guidelines. So from that perspective, it's important to note that the agent is always consulting the guidelines. It's not sort of trained as like a black box that just sort of memorizes what it's supposed to do based on what it's seen in the past. It is actually looking at guidelines. So when the guidelines change, the agent looks at the new version of the guidelines. So, that being said, we still have to see whether or not changes cause issues in performance. And we also have to know whether or not, it's performing differently in some specific client context based on different documentation styles or anything like that. So in production, we plan to take some real, sample of real world cases, annotate those, and then see how the agent performs against those annotations, as well as the user's actual choices. So we'll be, watching how the agent performs over time on real world data.
Great. Thanks so much for spending some time with me this morning, Zach.